Good morning, Year 1 2. So this is the second part of the illustration lesson where we're going to turn in one of our thumbnails into a lovely, beautiful piece of artwork. So I'm going to demonstrate that for you so that we can do it together. Now for this lesson, you need a pencil. Ideally, a large sheet of paper. So remember the size that we use to do our plan? An A3 sheet would be perfect, but if you haven't got that available, just a normal standard A4 sheet of plain paper will work really, really well. And what you also need is just some colour. Now, I'm going to be using my watercolor pens. For you at home or in school, you can use what you would like for this. You really don't need to be using exactly the same as me. So you might have felt tip pens, you might have colouring pencils, you might have pastels, or you might have paints. You can use whatever you choose. And the way that we're going to do it is that we're going to draw out our picture together, and then you get to colour it whichever way you'd like. So I'm going to start that off so that you can see how that might look. Okay, so in a moment I'm going to turn the screen around so that you can see what I'm doing, and then we're going to have a go at creating and making. Okay, all right then. Okay, so this is my plan from the previous lesson that we did together. So I've got my 3 thumbnails of my stories: my beginning, my middle, and my end. Okay, now when we did this, we thought about the colours that we were going to use. Okay, and we thought about just a quick sketch of the pictures. Now remember, this project is all about telling stories using just a picture, just a piece of artwork, because you can see a lot of what's happening in a piece of artwork. So for today, I'm going to do this one. So you can just do one, like me, or if you want to, you can do the whole story. Okay, so you could do all 3 of yours if you really wanted to. So I'm going to pop this here because I need to be able to see that while I'm doing my artwork. Okay, it's really important when you've planned something to keep looking at your plans. Okay, so what I want to get first is my drawing pencil. Now that could just be a HB pencil for you, okay? So not, if you've got soft pencils at home, it's not the soft pencils, it's the harder pencil like a HB, or this is a 2H here, okay? So just your ordinary pencil. Now I'm going to look at my plan. And remember this one here, it says here jungle. I wanted this to be in the middle of the jungle. So now I'm going to start adding in some nice fun bits. So I want some trees, and I want a rock, and then I want Mia in the middle here. So that's what I'm going to start drawing in. So first of all, I'm just going to draw in the tree trunks. Now I'm going to draw it quite dark so that you guys can see it. Okay. And I might want another tree here. Okay, so I'm just doing the tree trunks to start with, or when I want one right here. And remember, this is an illustration. So because these books, they are children's books, I want them to be really child friendly. I want them to look fun. I want them to be bright and colourful. Okay, so I'm going to put my rock in here. Let's put some grass. Go, and some here as well. So I'm just doing the grass by doing squiggly lines. Now remember, yours might be very different from mine because mine is a jungle. Maybe your story, your characters are from outer space. How exciting. Maybe you're on some kind of volcano adventure or going down and into a deep cave. Maybe you're even underwater. Who knows? That is your choice, okay? So I'm just drawing in my little tiger here. Okay. Now, like I said, this is an illustration, so I'm trying to keep the drawing really, really simple, because what I'm going to do is use colour instead, okay, and really make it vibrant from the colour. So I want to put some tall, big bush-like leaves over here. Okay, that's kind of spiking up from there. There we go. Okay. Now I'm going to keep Mia quite simple as well. She's exploring. So I'm going to, let's do her here. She's in her dress. And I'm changing her outfit from the real book. And she's here. She's got her paintbrush in her hand still, because remember, she painted this wonderful imaginary world. Okay, she is. Give her some shoes. I'm keeping it really, really simple, okay? And she's there. Put some grass near her feet too. And join all this bottom bit up. Okay, and she is looking around the jungle. Okay. So she's looking around. So I don't really see very much of Mia's face, so I don't have to worry too much about the details. So there she is. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to put some leaves on my tree up here. Okay. Now you could do some really funky leaves if you want, if you're doing jungle like me. Remember, like if you're doing outer space, maybe you're putting some planets on now. If you're doing underwater, maybe you're drawing some fish and things like that in. So look, you could do a different kind of leaf. Let's do a jaggedy one. And really have a play and get excited. Remember, this is your imaginary world. This is your story. You could put crazy little aliens in if you're doing outer space. Okay, so let's put some more. Do some bigger leaves this side, because that'll be easier and look really bright and colourful. There we go. Okay, and then I'm going to do some really big leaves on this side. Whoa, really huge. Okay, so that is my drawing. So can you see this is just a bigger version of my plan over here. So I've added in, because it's a bigger piece of paper, I've added in 2 extra trees, and I've made everything nice and big. And can you see I've filled up the whole page? Okay. Now I could also do some vines hanging down. Now I'm not going to draw the leaves on because I can just do those with the colour. That will be easier. Okay. Right, so that is my outline. That's my drawing, okay? Now, for the colour, like I said, I'm using watercolor pens, which are very similar to felt tip pens. They've got a brush on the end. The only difference is I can add some water and blend them together. You could be using just colouring pencils. You could be using paint. You could be using pastels, crayons, chalks, whatever you have. You don't have to be using paint like me. Now, this is my imaginary world. So that means the colours can be whatever I want. So remember, Mia painted this world. So I can do whatever colour I want it to be. And in fact, in my book, the colour, the background colour is actually often a pattern with shapes and things. So you could even do something like that. Now I'm not worrying at the moment. Normally I would always do the background first, but because this is an illustration, I'm actually more wanting the parts of the illustration to really stand out. So I am starting with the colours of the things on the page and not worrying about that background. Okay, so I'm using blue to do the shadowy area of the tree. Because remember, when something's lit up by the sun, for example, you've got the bit that's got the really bright sun bit on, and then you've got the shadow. So I'm using this dark blue as the shadows, okay? Because this is my world. And that means that these shadows on my trees can be any colour I want them to be, which is the really fun, exciting thing about doing your own illustrations and telling your own story. You've got the power to make it whatever you want. So I'm doing all the shadows on the same side because I'm imagining the sun is over here somewhere. It's off the page, you can't see it. Okay, but that means all the shadows are going to be on the same side. If your sun was here in the middle, then the sunlight would come out like this. So the shadows would be this side on this side and that side on that side. But I'm keeping it really, really simple. I want all the shadows, all the shadowy bits on the same side. Okay, so I'm doing these shadows. Now trees, if you're doing anything like trees on yours, remember they're quite textured. They're not super smooth. So can you see my line coming down here is really jaggedy. So then I'm going to use a purple down the middle. Okay, I'm going to do a nice purple because this is the in-between. This is where there's a bit of shadow, but a bit of light. So I'm going to do purple down the middle. And I'm just overlapping. So see, you could do this with colouring pencils or felt tips or even paint. Okay. And on this one the same. And then I think what I'm going to do is use a pink or an orange. I'm going to see which one goes best and do that for the bright side. Okay, because red and blue mixed together make purple, but my red in here is a bit dark, so that's why I think I might go for pink. Okay, so can you see I'm doing all my lines all in the same direction because it just makes it look more real. So I'm going to get pink now. I'm going to get my lightest pink and let's see what that looks like. There we go. Oh, I quite like that. Pink trees, eh? Has anybody seen a pink tree before? I've not. I've seen red, beautiful red leaves, beautiful red trees, but not a pink one. So I'm filling out all of this light side now, where all the light is on it. So can you see I've got 3 different colours, but it makes them look like real trees. Now have a look at your picture. Where are you up to? Okay. And what imaginary exciting colours are you using? Here we go, and then this side. So I'm just going to fill this in. Okay, now for my leaves, I am going to use green because I want green on here. It is a jungle, and everybody knows, look, that was on my colours. So that green is going to be my main colour that I'm using. So do keep looking at your plans. So I wanted my tree trunks to be different colour because the green's going to be on the grass, it's going to be in the leaves, it's going to be on the vines, it's going to be everywhere else. So I wanted to make sure that if these were green as well, I would have lost them in the picture. So I'm going to start. So I've got some different greens here. Can you see those different colours? Okay. I'm going to start with my lightest green first, and the same kind of rules. If the light is on this side, it's shining. So you can use this whatever you're doing, whether you're underwater, in a cave, out in space, you know, whatever the light falls onto, that's the brightest bit. Okay, so look at where you've put your shadows and then make sure on the other bits of your picture, you put the shadows in the same side, in the same place. Okay, So because I'm thinking it's sunlight that's on my leaves. Now, can you see I'm doing my leaves a lot smoother? So because I think it's sunlight that's on my leaves, even though the sun's over here somewhere, the light will be hitting the top of my leaves as well. Okay, so this side, this side, this side. Now the great thing about using, so these are my watercolor pens, is that you don't have to be super perfect with them, because you can use the water to blend any parts of it. So before I move on and do the next greens, I'm going to get my middle green, and the same as the trees, I'm going to add that on so that I can blend that middle green. So this is going to look lovely once I get the water on and start blending it all together. And then another really good thing about watercolours, and actually you don't even have to have watercolours, you might have food colouring at home, and with a grown-up you can use food colouring mixed with water, and then that will look just like watercolours. But they're really easy to blend and really lovely to work with. And you can smooth them all out after. Okay. But I know lots of you are probably just using pencils or pens, and that's absolutely fine as well. That can look really, really nice actually, and look very, very vibrant. So now I'm going to get my dark green and I'm going to do my shadowy areas. Okay, and remember this will blend together really nicely. Now look, I've left that bit blank because I thought, oh, that's going to need some light on there. So I'm not going to put the dark on it. But it's always good, I mean, especially say you're doing planets for your imaginary world, your adventure, your story, then use lots of different colours. Now, different tones of the same colour too. So this is, these are all colour harmonies. So they're all greens, but different types of green. Okay, and they blend together really, really nicely. And it's the same as my purple, pink and blue. They are all colour harmonies. They're in the same colour family. So when it comes to blending them together, the colours will go together really, really nicely. Okay. There we go. So there we go. Oh, got this bit to do as well. Look at that. Now that's going to look really nice once I get a little bit of water on there and get those colours blended together nicely. Okay, now then I would repeat this process. So I'm actually thinking some reds on here. So if you look, I had oranges and yellows actually. So I could use that on my leaves, my spiky tree. Now remember my tiger, he is orange. So I'm going to get an orange. Here we go. And I'm going to get him coloured in. And then I can put his stripes on and his nose. I want him to stand out. Now I decided not to put my little monkey on my tree, because I thought actually when I've done the bigger one, I thought, oh, it looks nicer maybe without it. I want the tiger to be the focus of this picture. So I left it off, and that's fine. You can change your plan. You don't need to do it exactly how you designed it at the start, because plans do change, and that's okay. Now I'm going to put some grey on for my rock, and I'm doing this quite rough because it is a rock, and rocks are rough. Okay, so can you see that? There we go. There's my rock. I want to get a darker colour. Use the black as well on the other side and make that, because remember that's the shadowy side. So I want to make sure. I still want it rough, but I need to make sure I'm keeping those shadows on the same side. So and at the bottom. So there's my rock. La, la, la. And then I'm going to use my 3 different greens just to put my grass in. So I'm not doing it all together, I'm just doing bits and bits of colour. There we go. And then I'm going to use different green. And I'm just layering it up. Remember, I've spoken before about how you layer when you're doing art. Okay, so that's what I'm doing now, is I'm just layering it. Okay. Layer, layer, layer. La, 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 la. There we go. And let's get some dark on there as well. So I might just do some flicks of the dark on there as well. Do some nice long ones then as well. Okay. Okay, so I've got a couple of bits left to do. I've got Mia and I've got my leaves. So for my leaves, I'm going to use reds and oranges and yellows like on my plan. So I'm going to use the red because it's the darkest for the shadowy side. There we go, like that. Okay, and then I'm going to use the orange. For the lighter side. There you go. And I might add a little bit of yellow in there as well, just to brighten it up even more. Okay, but look how vibrant that is. Lovely. Now, Mia has, Mia's going to have red hair. So a reddy orange hair, just like Tiger. And I'm going to use some of that colour. And let's get some yellow in there as well. There we go. And she's going to wear a purple dress. There we go. Now remember, this is all about being really, really bright. So I'm going to make the tip of the paintbrush green because Mia has made all these wonderful jungle colours. I'll give her some blue shoes. And maybe she has some yellow tights on. Some yellow tights. There we go. Lovely. And then I should have a kind of skin colour. Skin colour is quite a tricky one to do. There you go. Okay. Now the only thing left are the vines, but I'm going to leave those for a minute because I want to put the vines on last, because really what I should be doing now is getting a medium-sized paintbrush and then I can blend this together. So I'll just show you. I always start with the lightest colour first. I'll just get that water on the lightest colour and then I can pull that across and just blend these colours together. Now I don't want to blend it too much because this is a tree and it's supposed to be textured. So if you're using paints, so whatever you're doing, whether you're doing a jungle like me, or you're doing planets, or underground, or underwater, it's good to keep a little bit of texture. Okay, so especially if you're using lots of colours, try and stick to the colour families. So if we look at our colour wheel, if you're blending them, the colours that are together on the wheel, they're colour families and they blend together really, really nicely. So try and stick to using those colours together, because if you blend all of the colour families together, you'll end up with brown, murky, murky brown. Okay. Now, if you were doing something like underwater, you could, as long as your grown-up says okay, it's okay, you could be using your fingers in the paint and doing some texture. You could also do some, again, you'll need a grown-up, but you could also do some splatting with the paint. Now remember, you do that quite gentle. I'll show you in a minute. Okay, so there's all my tree trunks. They're just blended. Okay, and then I'll start on the green. So I start with the lighter colour and then I can blend them. Okay. It is a really good idea to use different tones of the same colour. Okay, so let's do this one. So actually a few green splashes in the background of mine might look quite nice actually. So to do splashes, you have the colour on your paintbrush, and then if you just tap it, can you see, can create a bit of a pattern. So I've got some green splashes. I'm not sure how well you can see that with the camera, but that's a really good way, a gentle way of doing it without ending up splatting the whole room. You've got to be careful if you're using paint. Now, if you're using pastels or chalks, this is where you'd be blending it with your fingers and getting it to all blend together really nicely and look really smooth. Now, remember, with pastels or chalks, it can get quite dusty. So you might want to make sure that you've got an apron on, even though it's not paint. Okay. So leaves coming together. Oh, these are my jaggedy leaves, so I won't be as smooth with these. I want that jaggediness. There we go. Okay. And then basically I would just keep on blending, maybe add in, so I'll do my grass down the bottom here. Maybe add in some more layers. You might want a pattern in the background like I've got in my books. Or maybe you're doing space and you've already got, maybe you're doing it on black paper and don't actually need a pattern. Okay. And you just keep going and add in all the little details. So you might want to, you guys should be good at thinking about what tiger looks like after our work on jungle animals before. Okay, so you'd start putting in all the details like tiger stripes and anything else you need. So maybe maybe stars for the planets. Maybe bubbles in the water. You could use white, couldn't you? And do some bubbles if you're doing underwater. Okay. Lots of fun, and really have an experiment. Just try some different things and see what you like and see what works. Remember, this is about telling a story. Okay, through a picture. So it really is. And remember, this is your story, which means you get to choose what's on there. You get to choose the colours. Maybe you're in some kind of made up sweet land. How exciting. So whatever you planned last week, just using that and just keep going and create a beautiful piece of art. Okay, so there you go. That's mine. So what I would do next is I'd just go over, I'd do my vine, I'd maybe put a pattern in the background like in my book, and just keep going until I think, yeah, that's it. That's what looks really nice and I really love it, just like that. Okay. So that's it for today, and that ends our project, our illustration project. Now it's half term coming up, so you can carry on with this over the half term if you like and do your whole story. That would be amazing. And remember, it's all about using your artwork, those images that you're making to create a story and to tell a story. I really, really can't wait to see these. I think they're going to be brilliant. And yeah, I hope you enjoy doing it. I think it'll be lots and lots of fun. Okay, take care and I'll see you soon. Bye.